What if the 1918 pandemic wasn't just a natural disaster? What if it was something else entirely? Something hidden beneath the surface of history? Did you know? The world was barely recovering from the chaos of war. People thought it was just a deadly flu, a nightmare that swept across continents. But what if it wasn't? What if the origins of that terrible wave had roots deeper than anyone dared to admit? Deeper than any natural disease. The early 20th century was a time of incredible scientific experimentation. On the brink of the modern age, laboratories buzzed with new discoveries. Some experiments were bold, some secret. Few knew what was truly happening behind closed doors. Behind those walls, scientists explored the boundaries of life and death. They played with genetics, viruses, the unknown. And some projects worked in shadows. Could the pandemic have been a test? A biological experiment gone out of control? Or was it something else? Throughout the world, reports of strange incidents floated in. Unusual illnesses, strange symptoms manifesting without explanation. Some of these reports vanished quickly, disappeared from public record. Why? Was it fear, or something darker? Because there are whispers, unconfirmed stories of secret labs, of researchers chasing breakthroughs at any cost, of dangerous viruses stored in hidden vaults, vaults no one was supposed to find. What if the virus that devastated so many was not born naturally? What if it was engineered? A weapon? Or an accidental release? Could it have been a test run? Some say the pandemic was a cover-up, a way to hide something else, a global experiment to see how societies collapse under chaos. And maybe the most disturbing thought of all, what if it was never supposed to be stopped? What if the virus was only the beginning, the tip of the iceberg? Because secret projects often operate in the shadows, outside the reach of the public eye. And plastics, chemicals, and viruses, strange biological agents, they all have a history. Stories buried in archives that no longer exist, or that few have ever seen. And the question remains, who was experimenting with what? And why? The more you look, the murkier it gets. Because every so-called accident has a pattern of cover-ups and silence, of experiments pushed beyond reason. Have we been blindly trusting history? Or are we only seeing part of the truth? Could those early experiments explain the outbreak? Or is there something even darker, even more hidden? The truth is out there, waiting to be uncovered, but some truths are better left undiscovered. Sometimes, the evidence is right in front of us, hidden right beneath our noses. In archives, in whispers, in the silence of what was erased. And as we ask these questions, the silence grows louder, almost as if it's warning us to stop digging, or perhaps, to keep searching. Because the story is not over. Not by a long shot. What if the pandemic was only the beginning? What if it was just a test? What lies ahead? We're about to find out. What if the experiments of early microbiology weren't just about understanding life? What if they were about storing something far more fragile, far more dangerous? In the shadows of laboratories, decades before the digital age, scientists probed the invisible world. They studied bacteria, viruses, and the building blocks of life itself. But beneath the microscope, something else was unfolding. Imagine a time when scientists first learned to manipulate living organisms. Not just to cure, but to control, to encode. They tinkered with viruses, not just to understand disease, but to engineer them. And why? Maybe to unlock the ultimate secrets, the ability to encode information biologically, to embed data inside living matter, to hide memories within DNA. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? And yet, some experiments hint at it. In the quiet corners of the world, rumors circulate of experiments where viruses weren't just killers, they were carriers. Carriers of code, of genetic messages, waiting to be decoded. Biotechnology was primitive, but growing. A patchwork of early discoveries, misguided hopes, and dangerous ambitions. Scientists injected viruses with fragments of DNA, not just to study cells, but to see if they could store information. To think, could a virus someday hold a message? A secret, hidden in plain sight? Somewhat like a biological USB drive. It sounds like science fiction. But was it? Researchers experimented with storing digital data in DNA long before we had computers. They created tiny archives, tiny messengers, a new form of memory, tucked inside life itself. And the more they learned, the more they wondered. Could this be the future? Could biological data storage replace all our binary and hard drives? They were on the brink of a breakthrough, or a disaster, because these efforts weren't just about technology. They blurred the line between medicine and weaponry, between science and espionage. What if these experiments weren't entirely sanctioned? What if, somewhere, someone was trying to hide information inside the very fabric of life? Think about the implications. If a virus could carry data, could it also carry secrets? Could it be programmed to activate, under certain conditions, turn into a biological Trojan horse? The questions spiral. The truth remains hidden, perhaps deliberately, because in some underground corridors of science, they weren't just experimenting. They were testing limits, pushing boundaries that should never have been crossed. What if the knowledge they gained was too dangerous to be released? What if the experiments left behind fragments of memory, scattered across time? In the early days, they manipulated genes like recipes, mixing and matching. But underneath it all, a darker purpose developed: to encode something deeper than just biological information. Could this have been the first step toward biological data storage, almost like a hidden archive in the code of life? It's tempting to think that the virus experiments might have been more than just biological research. They could have been a means to hide or preserve something humanity was never meant to understand. And yet, we find traces, unexplained sequences, strange patterns in ancient biological samples, abandoned or erased from history. Is it possible that some of these experiments went further? Was there a secret where no one was allowed? A vault of biological memory, locked away from the world? Or worse, a consciousness buried deep in DNA, waiting to awake? Some say the early microbiologists believed they could print memories, encode history inside cells. A biological library of the ages. But what if they succeeded? What if they created something more? A biological archive that could hold the sum of human knowledge, or hide it? And what if that archive still exists, buried beneath layers of secrecy, misunderstood and dismissed, waiting to be discovered or awakened? Because the story doesn't end with science. It's about what they kept hidden. It's about what we didn't see, and perhaps what they still don't want us to find. The pieces are scattered, the clues faint, but someone out there knows. Someone remembers. And they say, once you see the pattern, it changes everything. Because some secrets aren't meant to stay buried. What if the pandemic was not just a biological accident? What if, beneath the chaos, there was a deeper purpose? A purpose hidden in the very fabric of life itself. Consider this: DNA, the blueprint of everything alive. But what if DNA was more than just biological code? What if it also stored data? Data that could be read, written, encoded. Scientists have long explored DNA as a medium. In labs, they've stored images, audio, even complex information. Tiny strands holding vast amounts of data, compressed into molecular form. Imagine a world where this was the future. A world where data wasn't stored on silicon chips, but inside living cells. It sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? But the concept isn't new. Early experiments showed DNA's incredible potential. A digital vault in a molecule. Now, think about the timeline. The rise of the internet, big data, mass storage. And suddenly, an outbreak. A virus. Could it have been an experiment gone wrong? A test to see if a biological virus could encode data. A virus that could, in theory, carry information across generations? What if this was the plan all along? A biological solution for data storage. A way to embed information within our very DNA. And what if the pandemic was a failure? A misguided attempt to create a new form of memory, one that transcends technology. A way to keep history alive, beyond books, beyond servers. A biological archive. But something went wrong. The virus escaped control. Or was it ever really under control? Maybe the virus wasn't just a biological weapon or an accidental pathogen. Maybe it was a message, a code designed to be read over generations, encoded within the virus itself. Did the scientists anticipate what might happen? Did they expect the virus to mutate, to spread faster than expected? Or was that part of the plan? To see if the data could survive an infection, a pandemic? To test whether the information could survive the chaos? And now, as the world is gripped by fear, as life stalls and whispers of conspiracy circulate, do we realize what's at stake? The very idea that our history, our memories, could be stored inside us, hidden deep in our DNA. Now, consider this: if the virus was meant to encode data, then every infection becomes a transmission of information. An invisible courier carrying whispers of secrets, encoded in each cell. Could that explain the strange mutations? The puzzling properties of the virus? It's not just about infection. It's about communication. Between us, between generations. A biological message, waiting to be decoded. And what about the vaccine? Could it be more than a cure? Could it be a key? A way to unlock the hidden archive inside us? Or does the vaccine itself contain a message? A modification? Did the scientists encode more than just immunity? More than just a countermeasure? Could they embed data into our very biology? Turn our own bodies into living storage units? It's a disturbing thought, that we are not just the victims, but also the carriers of information so vast, so ancient and yet so new. We are walking archives. And now, as the pieces fall into place, a question looms heavier than ever. Was this pandemic really a catastrophe? Or was it an experiment, a test of some larger system? A failed attempt, perhaps, or a deliberate step toward something far darker? What if we are still part of that experiment? The data, still waiting to be decoded. hidden deep within our cells, in the very blueprint of life. And what if, someday soon, someone finds it? The secrets encoded in our DNA. A forgotten message, buried between the lines. A message that might change everything. Or, it already has. Did the virus carry encrypted information? Unintended messages locked within its very code. No one noticed, at first. It was thought to be just another pathogen. A biological anomaly, nothing more. But then, small details started to surface. Strange anomalies scientists could not explain. Samples showed irregularities, sequences that didn't fit, patterns that seemed deliberate. Could it be a glitch? Or something more sinister? Scientists began analyzing the viral genome. But what they found defied logic. There were sections that looked out of place, odd repetitions, cryptic symbols hidden beneath the surface, codes woven into the virus's very structure. Some believed it was a mutation. Others whispered, was this some form of biological language? A message encoded deep within the virus? A call left behind by some lost civilization? It sounds impossible. But clues kept piling up. In labs around the world, whispers grew louder. Unusual, almost impossible reactions. The virus seemed to carry properties no one could explain. It would mutate in bizarre ways. Unpredictable, uncharted, like the virus was trying to tell us something. Or warn us. Researchers discovered strange sequences in the virus's RNA. Sequences that matched no known code. No natural pattern. Instead, they looked deliberate. Someone had encoded something. Something meant to be discovered. Eventually. But why? What purpose could it serve? Was it meant for us to find? Or had it been hidden, buried so deep in the genetic material that no one would ever see it? The more they looked, the more disturbing it became. Cryptic messages flickered across their instruments. Fragments of data, flickering like ghost signals. Ancient symbols? Secret language? Could this virus be a bridge between worlds or realities? Some researchers suggested it was a form of biological graffiti, a message scrawled across the fabric of life itself, a layered code designed to survive everything. But what if it was more? What if the virus was a vessel, a Trojan horse carrying a message we were never meant to see? And here's the strange part. Many of these sequences resembled old cryptic messages. Hints from history's buried past. Codes that appeared in ancient manuscripts. Hidden in relics we thought were mere superstition. Was it coincidence? Or did history somehow encode these messages, waiting for us to decode? Some have suggested that this virus might have been created with purpose. A tool designed to carry a message across time and space. A message that might change everything we know. But it's more than just a hypothesis now, because recent analysis revealed something even stranger. A pattern, recurring, a repeating sign that appeared across different virus samples. A pattern that no natural process could produce. It was too perfect. Someone, or something, had orchestrated this. Embedded a code, a hidden message, within the chaos. And the question remains, who? What are they trying to tell us? Or perhaps, what were they trying for us not to see? Some scientists believe it's a failed encoding. A broken message left behind. Or maybe, an unintentional release. A message that slipped through, unnoticed. But what if it wasn't a mistake? What if that message was meant to be found? What if this virus was never just a virus, What if it was a key? A key to something deeper, something concealed, beyond our understanding. A door hidden behind layers of genetic code. And now, that door is opening. Slowly, in the silence, a faint whisper. A pattern emerging from the chaos. A message that was never meant for us to hear. But now, it's out there. It's calling, waiting, and we're no longer sure if we're ready to see what's behind it. Or if we should even look at all. Because some truths are better left buried. Some secrets too dangerous to unlock. But the evidence keeps surfacing. Strange, cryptic fragments. A virus, or something more. Something that might be trying to tell us everything. Before it's too late. Before the message is lost forever. Or worse, before it finds us.